Very good evening from the sports desk. We are getting ever so close to the day when history will be made. Today marks 70 days before the 2023 Netball World Cup spectacle gets underway in Cape Town. South Africa hosting for the very first time since the tournament began 60 years ago. In fact, I'll do you one better. Africa is hosting for the first time this showpiece. Netball Proteas head coach, as you see in your picture there, Hloni Mtimkulu, is set to announce the final squad in just over an hour. Captain Hloni Mtimkulu is expected to lead the team. South Africa will be facing off against Jamaica, Wales and Sri Lanka in Pool C. The tournament taking place at the Cape Town International Convention Centre from the 28th of July to the 6th of August. The favourites, New Zealand, they are going into the tournament looking to defend their title, which they clinched in 2019 at the expense of another one of the favourites, Australia. As you can expect, anticipation is growing ahead of this evening. The Netball Proteas World Cup squad announcement taking place in Randburg. That's where eNCA's Hloni Mtimkulu is at, awaiting the big reveal. Good evening to you, Hloni. I mean, we've already told our viewers what is said to be happening, but what exactly can we expect? Because I don't see this being a typical, Hloni Mtimkulu standing in front of everybody and just calling out some names. I would imagine there would be dignitaries. Maybe the sports minister would be there. The Netball Madam President would be there, Cecilia Molokwane. So what exactly can we expect?
Good evening, Morena. You spoke about Hloni Mtimkulu, the captain, and I will say that we've already spotted her. No surprises then that she will be in that squad. We've also spotted Phumza Maweni as well. So at least those two, and those are stalwarts of the team that have been there for a while. So we expect them to be there. We have spotted Cecilia Molokwane, the Netball SA president as well. Here, we do expect that there will be other dignitaries that are here. We don't know who exactly, but we do expect that there will be others that are here. I know in the past with women's sports events, we've had the Deputy Minister who's been a very vocal supporter of the T20 World Cups that happened earlier in the year in the cricket, the under-19s, as well as the Senior Women's T20 World Cup. And she's been very vocal about all those sorts of things and building up to this. So maybe she will be here. There might be the sports MEC of Gauteng might be here as well. I did see on the list actually that Andrew Murray, the sports MEC in the Western Cape, that she will be here as well. And she's also someone that has been doing the rounds with Netball South Africa, obviously because that World Cup will be held in Cape Town. As you say, Africa's first World Cup, South Africa's first World Cup that will be taking place 60 years after the first World Cup happened, and Africa does get to have their first one in Cape Town, as you said, from the 28th of July for those 10 days. So we do expect a number of people here. 2 people already we know from the squad that last did action in January in the quad series, and we'll be waiting to see who else will be join Hloni Mtimkulu as well as Phumza Maweni in that squad. Morena.
I think one of the best things about the netball national team, Hloni, is consistency. From the days of Hloni Mtimkulu before she handed over to Derek Barenhorst, to then Hloni Mtimkulu coming back to take over. We've seen mostly the Phumza Mawenis, the Hloni Mtimkulu, who've always been, consistent parts of this national team. Are those among the other faces we'll see? Which are the other experienced campaigners will we be seeing in there? Can we expect some surprises, some young birds that have proven themselves in the Telkom Netball League maybe in the last year or two?
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be very interesting. I mean, we saw for a long time, for nearly 2 years, someone like Carla Mostad wasn't there. She's a defender. She wasn't in the squad for various reasons. Then she made a very welcome return to the squad in that quad series in January. And we could see the impact that she made. I think she was a very missed figure last year when they went to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. And for her to return when she did in January, and the impact that she had, that was very obvious. You talk about the Phumzas, you talk about the Hloni Mtimkulu who've been there for a while, but there have been a number of newer players that have been brought in the last 2 years or so. We know that last year Netball South Africa contracted 24 players, I think it is, as part of trying to professionalize the sport, as part of the build-up to the Netball World Cup, where they said that they don't want players to be worried about having to work as well as then having to prepare for this event. It's obviously Africa's first World Cup in South Africa, and obviously it's a big deal. So they needed to pull out all the stops. But of course, netball is not a professional sport. So a lot of players, if they're playing in South Africa, they're playing for weeks at a time only in the Premier League that happens here. and then the others that do play overseas. So there have been a number of players that have been brought in, a number of players that have been contracted to Netball South Africa as part of their elite squad of players that are there. But besides those ones, I'm just trying to see who was part of the quad series squad. As I said, Kala Mostert was back, Bongim Somi was there, Phumza Mawini was there, Ina Marif Fenta was there, players like that. But I do expect that there have been a number of younger players. Kanyisa Chawana was also there as well. But we expect that there will be a number of younger players as well that have been coming up, that have been blooded in, because there's been a lot of movement of players throughout the years that have come in and that then have obviously left because, as the cycle goes, that they do move on. So it will be interesting to see that balance between newer players and older faces and how it plays itself out. Morena.
Just very, very quickly, Hloni, this one is something that we need to ask. The form. You've mentioned an important tournament that we usually build up to a World Cup with, and that is the Quad Series. Form usually doesn't count for anything, but it is important. If at least the T20 World Cup is anything to go by, where South Africa went all the way to the final in a tournament they hosted. South Africa have an opportunity to go all the way to the final for the first time in a tournament they're hosting. Can they do it?
Yeah, so that's going to be the interesting part of it. 2022 wasn't a great year by Netball South Africa's standards. They didn't do as well as they would have wanted in Birmingham at the Commonwealth Games, finishing in 6th position under Dorrit Badenhorst. And then we obviously saw, with just 9 months to go to this World Cup, that Norma Plummer did return. We saw an improved form, improved performance at the Quad Series in January. We saw them winning the Diamond Challenge as well at the end of last year. And when the players have spoken out just about the influence and the impact of having Norma back, and just the kind of coach that she is and how she galvanizes the team, and just what it is about her in particular that just kind of does something to these players, that brings out this extra something in the players. I think that would have been evident in what happened, the changes that she kind of brought in earlier this year in that Quad Series. So we hope that they will be able to go all the way. I think it will be a big stretch to push Australia and to push New Zealand as well, and even England for that matter. But the mandate is very clear that they do want a podium finish. The Netball SA president, Cecilia Molokwane, has been very clear about that they want to podium. They want to equal their best performance. That was in 1995. In 2019 in Liverpool, they did finish 4th. They want to do one better than that and at least end up on the podium. So we'll have to see come the 28th of July. Morena.
Well, we'll have to see what squad can do that for Norma Plummer, Cecilia Molokwane and the country. Hloni, thank you very much. We'll leave it there with you. The squad announcement happening in about an hour and 2.5 minutes time in Randburg.